Nothing like getting your hair done and your scalp just breathing. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Room of Comics. This is where we discuss everything manga, comics, graphic novels related. And so I just wanted to drop a quick video because so many things have happened in the past week, and this is so interesting now being on like the news side of comics, graphic novels, and manga. It's different. It's very interesting. Usually on the news side of like just you know, like the prose book type of situation, you know, on the other channel, but it's fun to do it over here. So I'm not going to specifically be talking about, another thumbnail looks like one thing, but I'm not going to specifically be talking about who's better, the Viz manga app or the K manga app. Y'all, there are a lot of people who've done this, at least with people I follow. I've seen quite a few people who I follow do this. K manga app, trash. The Viz manga app, definitely worth the coins, because I literally have been just going through manga this past weekend on the Viz manga app, and it has been glorious. Now I still do have Viz and Shonen because of the differences between the two apps. However, I did want to talk a little bit about how I read my comics, manga, and graphic novels, considering that I'm on a book buying ban. So questions that need answers here are probably, well, it says, how are you finna continue to read the stuff and you're not even buying it? Well, most of the stuff that I was buying, this is the part that breaks my heart. I already was kind of cutting back on buying physical books in general because I am privileged and blessed enough to get a lot of the materials that I want from publishers, and I have a very well-funded library. So I was kind of set on the books. But this stuff behind me, the comics, the graphic novels, the manga, like any library system, that stuff is expensive and quite often it goes missing. So there's that. And then I was buying most of it out of my pocket, but it's also very expensive. And, you know, the economy is just kind of doing this thing that I'm not exactly comfortable with, kind of like, you know, possibly gonna like tail dove into, guess what, higher interest rates, which means it's gonna be impossible to buy pretty much anything at all. Just not fun, not enjoying that. But I thought I would talk a little bit today about how I continue to be able to consume graphic novels, comics, and manga without putting that much money into any specific title, any, you know, series. I have pretty much put a halt and a stop to reading I've put a halt and a stop to buying anything physically. And so I think some questions may be always impacting your reading. Yes and no. So I'm going to give you a couple of details about how I'm still consuming those mediums without putting any finances towards them per se. So I'm going to go ahead and put a disclaimer on this video. Like I said, I am in a place of privilege where there are some publishers that are now doing graphic novel imprints. So like Harper Alley, Simon does a little bit too, and so some of that stuff I do get as available finished copies, or some stuff I get as ARCs. I also am a librarian and I work specifically with youth collections, so a lot of the youth-based graphic novels I do get as early release. I am also a librarian that is active on Edelweiss, so because of that I get a lot of whatever I request because I'm in acquisitions. And so to a lot of publishers, it's like, she's gonna buy this stuff. Maybe we should just give her this free copy so she can preview it and then see if she's gonna, you know, she's probably gonna be inclined to buy the product. It's the way, you know, business, it's the way stuff works. So in that sense, I am privileged. I know that everybody doesn't have that level of accessibility that I have. I also come, like I said, from a very well-funded public library. I work there. Been a patron for years before I even worked there. So there's that. I just want to knock all that out the way because I want to make sure that I'm being as transparent as possible. What also I want to be transparent about is that I do budget. I do take into consideration 3 specific things. I do pay for Shonen Jump and Viz manga because I feel like for $4 a month, I'm getting my bang for my buck in terms of reading digital manga. It's a lot. It's a huge catalog. Between those 2 apps, it is a huge catalog of things that I can read. I'm also low-key taking advantage of K manga, even though I think it's a trash app, but we'll get there. So I do financially make sure in my budget that I am accounting for those 2 things. I also have a Kindle Unlimited app, which Kindle Unlimited I primarily use for reading a lot of my KU romances, but there is a lot of manga and comics and graphic novels that are on KU. And if you would like me to, I could possibly do a video of the comics and graphic novels that are available on KU that I think are worth trying, as well as the manga. I know that I believe Shay and Izzy have both also done videos talking about the manga that's available on Kindle Unlimited. So if I do something of that sort, I'll make sure I hyperlink back to, did I just say hyperlink? I will just make sure that their videos are included somewhere in the description if that is something that you all would like to see. All right, so in terms of resources, how am I primarily reading my stuff? So for manga, like I said before, I am primarily reading with Shonen and Viz. And I don't always get what I want in terms of what Viz is producing. Like, it's not every single title that they are producing, but it's a lot of titles that I am interested in, especially with them adding a lot of like of the shoujo stuff that they've produced in the past. I have so much content that I can get just from those two apps alone. So I think that now this year I have been transitioning more recently in the past couple weeks, transitioning into reading more off of those apps. I also have a physical shelf of manga that I have yet to read that I have purchased prior to me making this financial decision. I also rely, like I said before, heavily on Kindle Unlimited. Now, Kindle Unlimited doesn't always have everything that I want in terms of manga, but I have found some great series on there that I have started. I think one of the biggest ones that I have started and really seriously need to continue is like Drops of God. That's one of the huge ones that you cannot get in print any longer, so that's always a plus there. So I don't read as much in terms of manga from KU, but it is available and I do dabble in it every now and then. My library, fortunately, does have a pretty decent manga collection, and so I also work with the person who purchases the manga, and you know, that could have its perks if it fits within the framework of budget. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, we just buy what. No, that's not how that process works. Not at all how that process works. But I think that we do have a staff that is pretty knowledgeable about manga, and so they are able to acquire a lot of different series that I am interested in trying out and reading and keeping up with. So it's kind of hard to be like, oh, we don't have any manga available, because I am blessed to be in an environment where we do have a lot of manga. Do we have everything? No, especially some of the titles that are not as popular. I feel like we definitely skew more heavily to the side of picking up titles that have gotten a lot of traction within the manga community and even outside of the manga community. With manga becoming more mainstream now, we pick up a lot of those titles that are popular. So things that are not as popular are not titles that we necessarily acquire, which is where I have difficulty. So like, with me loving Apothecary Diaries, like we don't have that. Beauty and the Beast of Paradise Lost, like we don't have that one, and I really have been enjoying that. And so those are like examples of stuff that we don't necessarily have, and kind of breaks my heart because I'm like, dang, I wish we did have I wish we did have that, because that, you know, that's stuff that I would like to read. But I am also thankful that, you know, we are keeping up with like Blood on the Tracks. We're getting every one of those volumes. We are getting every volume of Blue Lock, which I did not realize. I have been able to read, what series is it that I'm kind of like on the fence with, but I'm still reading it out of curiosity. It is How to We Relationship. Not my favorite, but like, you know, some of those series that people are reading that are currently being serialized, we do have. So I'm pretty set when it comes to manga. Am I able to get my hands on everything that everyone in the manga community is reading? Not really. And, you know, being a part of this community now, I see how much, like, in terms of like consumerism, it's a huge thing with like the manga halls and how people are able to spend like hundreds and hundreds of dollars every month on manga, especially, you know, looking at deals and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that people don't get a bang for the buck, but I can't afford to do that. And so I have to come up with alternative ways to consume what is available to me and just choose from that until I'm in a different financial situation. Now for comics and graphic novels, once again, great resources here. Some of the resources that I've been using and highly recommend for people is if you are, okay, there's 2 apps that I used to have, but I got rid of one of them. Kind of interrupting myself there. So I used to have the DC app and the Marvel Unlimited app, and I got rid of the DC app because I found that I was never ever using it, so that was a waste of money. The Marvel app I do use, and so I read, you know, older things issue by issue. They don't drop until, you can pay for a larger subscription or a more expensive subscription, but I'm not doing that. They don't drop until, like, the single issues don't drop until 6 months after publication, which is fine, because at the end of the day, I think that while I loved collecting, and this is what's breaking my heart, is that I love collecting because I like my single issue collection, I can't afford to do that right now. And so I have budgeted having the Marvel app. I think I pay maybe $5 to $7 for the Marvel app every month, which is not bad. And being able to read some backlist stuff is just, it's worth the money, to be honest, with the access to content that I have, which I enjoy. But honestly, my biggest go-to when it comes to comics and graphic novels is going to be Hoopla. Now, I do understand that Hoopla works differently at every library. So once again, talking from a point of library privilege here, I have a good system that funds Hoopla, and so I get a decent number of checkouts. I get 10 every month, and I use them wisely. I did not use them wisely this month because I only have 1 checkout left, and I literally have read everything that I've checked out on Hoopla. I'm not sure like what happened this month, but and it wasn't comics or graphic novels. I literally just went on a book craze situation. Don't know. But Hoopla is a great place to go to in terms of getting graphic novels and comics. They have single issues from certain publishers. I know that, I think with IDW and Dark Horse and Image, you get single issues, so it's easy to keep up. Like if you're a single issue person and you don't like to wait for trades, Hoopla does do that. You're not going to get single issues of DC and Marvel, and the reason why you're not going to get single issues is because DC and Marvel have their own apps already where they have single issues. So it kind of defeats the purpose when, you know, we are in a capitalist society, and so we are all about making money, and so they're in the business of making money, and they have their own apps to make money, so they're not going to give it to Hoopla by any means. Like, this is not going to happen. But Marvel and DC do release trades to Hoopla. Now, I have seen DC release newer trades. Marvel, I don't know if they do or if they don't. I haven't been able to tell, so if someone knows, let me know. But I know when trades come out for DC, they are dropped on Hoopla on release day. So I don't know what deal or what situation is worked out with Hoopla where DC has created this connection where they're able to drop stuff as soon as it releases, but I'm not mad at it. It's also a great place to check out some indie stuff. It's a great place to check out just things that are not as popular and things that sometimes you wouldn't be able to get into you wouldn't be able to get at an LCS because your, you know, LCS owner is not necessarily interested in buying that or doesn't think it's going to sell in the shop or unless somebody special orders it. But I have found some great series through Kindle Unlimited, just, you know, just randomly just scrolling through and favoriting things, and I have a whole laundry list of things that I need to get to on KU. I also have my whole shelf, which you all can't see, but you know, you've seen the bookshelf tour. It's on this channel. I have a whole shelf of stuff that I have not read. So honestly, like, I'm set for the next couple of years if I don't buy another comic or graphic novel. So my own shelf has inevitably become a resource. KU is a great place to check out graphic novels and comics if you can afford it. More so graphic novels. There are comic book trades that are on KU, but they're kind of random. They're random, but it's decent. I mean, and I say random like for like DC and Marvel. Some of this stuff is just kind of like random things that they've released. I don't know how they decide what they put on KU and what they don't put on KU, but there are some great series on KU. Like, I know that I think a good bit of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I couldn't get that out. I know that that's on there. I had marked out like Multiversity from DC is on there. They have a little bit of what is it? The DC titles with the blue lines. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I can't talk. I just completely have, my brain is going kaput. I know they have a lot of that on there. I know that they have a couple of image titles that are on there. Like, I know first couple of volumes of Lock and Key are on there. I believe that the first few volumes of Giant Days are on there. So they have some really like popular series that are already on KU. The only downside to KU is that they'll make like the first volume or 2 volumes. Sometimes I've seen it 3, depending upon how long the series is. They'll make those free and then you'd have to buy the rest. So that's the only thing about it, is that you're not going to necessarily find an entire series that's going to be free, which can be disappointing if you start a series and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really enjoying this, I'm eating this up. That kind of sucks. But at the same time, you know, at least if you're interested, you can check out some of the series. And then what I do is sometimes I'll read stuff on KU as far as I can get. And then what I'll do is after I read as far as I can get on KU, I'll switch over to Hoopla. And then Hoopla will have the rest of the series. I don't know how these things work in terms of like what agreements these companies have with these platforms, but you know, you got to learn how to work the system. All right, y'all. So those are a couple of resources that I use in terms of reading my comics. But I just like swallow like fur. I do what the world is. So those are a couple of resources that I use to read comics, graphic novels, and manga. If you're looking for non-monetary sources, I definitely would, you know, things that you don't have to put your own money in. I would look to see what your library has. Also see if your library has like a request option where you as a patron can come in and request that they purchase something. Now, every library has their own guidelines on how they do selection. So don't be discouraged if you get denied for one thing. Just keep trying different things and see what they are willing to purchase. As always, a option. See what your local library has already in their collection. And if your library has Hoopla is going to be your biggest resource, because I know how expensive some of this stuff can be, and it's a lot. If you can afford a little bit more, like if you think that you have the $1.99 a month, or the $2.99 a month, I would recommend looking at the Viz Manga or the Shonen Jump app. I'm not going to say go ahead and just get both, but if you can possibly afford both, I think that those are a great investment. If you're really into manga and you're just looking for a variety of things to be able to read and a huge selection of things to be able to read, especially with the Viz Manga update and with them continuously updating it with new titles, there's that. I do not recommend the K-Manga app. I mean, there's nothing wrong with dabbling in it. They have these promotions where you can read a certain number of chapters of some series free until, you know, an extended period of time, or like some of them I think are expiring like tomorrow and on the 18th and stuff like that. I personally am not going to continue to use it because it's a point coin type of system, and inevitably you end up spending more money than what it's worth. For all of that, you might as well just go ahead and buy the physical copies. It's just not for me necessarily. But you know, those are some of the free options. But if you can invest a little bit more money, there are those 2 apps, and then there's Kindle Unlimited. But Kindle Unlimited is a little bit more expensive. It's $9.99 per month, and so that is something to take into consideration. But as always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. If you're looking to follow me on social media, all the links will be down in the description box below, and I'll be back with another video soon. Peace.